Welcome to Changing the Game, where bold leaders, rule breakers, and trailblazers drop the playbook and share how they lead, win, and shake things up.
Welcome to Changing the Game. Today I am joined by Jazz Carlin. Jazz is a two-time Olympic silver medalist and one of Great Britain's most decorated female swimmers, known for her incredible performances in the 400-meter and 800-meter freestyle at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Following her retirement from competitive swimming in 2019, Jazz has seamlessly transitioned into the world of sales, where she now works as a senior sales development manager at Sourceway. She's been recognized as one of the top 50 SDR managers by Sales Confidence and is passionate about helping more women break into sales and succeed in the industry. Beyond her corporate career, Jazz continues to inspire through motivational speaking and her initiative Swim with Jazz, where she mentors and supports the next generation of swimmers with a focus on confidence, mindset, and goal setting. Welcome, Jazz. Excited to have you here today.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Looking forward to the conversation. You have such amazing, not only sales experience, competitive swimming experience. I can't wait to get into your background. So set the scene for us at the beginning. I want to know a little bit more about your journey. So you started swimming at a young age. Can you share what initially drew you to the sport and how your experience has really shaped your passion and your journey around it?
Yeah, it all started from a young age, really. As soon as I was allowed in the pool as a baby, my dad used to take me to the local swimming pool, and it quickly became my favorite time of the week, spending that time with my dad, being in the water. And we've got amazing videos of me when I was only small, just absolutely loving being in the water with my dad. He used to throw me around and we used to just have so much fun. And I guess from a young age, I was very lucky that my family and my parents exposed me to lots of different sports. And, I tried them all, from gymnastics to football to netball to running, swimming, obviously. And, I absolutely loved it. Some of the sports, maybe I was a lot more natural than others, but swimming was definitely up there with one of my favorites. And, I was very lucky to be coached by some amazing volunteers, but also the friends that I made along the way and the people that I've met in my journey through swimming have really shaped my journey through the sport and allowed me to get, well, progress through the sport all the way up to the Olympics. But giving me those early fond memories of swimming and the sport definitely shaped my career. So I'm very grateful for my parents for obviously taking me to the pool from a young age. But yeah, that's how it really started, really. I had no idea that it was going to take up so much of my life and become such a huge passion of mine. And I guess to go on to the Olympics was just an absolute dream come true. So yeah, so I guess there's a bit of background, but just started as a youngster, really, with those learn to swim to try and be safe in the water. That was the key thing, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that swimming for you kind of started out as a life skill, not so much like, hey, this is going to be a competitive sport for me. And trying a lot of other sports, was there a moment where you knew swimming was the one you were more passionate about? Or was there a moment where swimming went from hobby, life skill to competitive drive? Like, was there a moment it switched for you?
I'm not sure there was an exact moment. I think it just kind of naturally happened. In swimming, you kind of, once you get to a certain age, actually 11 years old, you try and qualify for the British nationals. So that's where you're actually competing against the best swimmers in your age. And so naturally in swimming, as I was thinking about being able to achieve those times to go to the nationals, and early mornings started to come in, 5 a.m. starts, swimming before school. It just naturally progressed, really, at those competitions. And I guess once you've done the local county competition, you then want to aim for the next one and the next one. So it naturally kind of progressed. I don't know whether there was an exact moment. Maybe when I was 16 and decided solely to focus on swimming was probably the moment where I started to think, oh, this is something that I really want to pursue and see where it could take me, and if I could go on to the Olympics. But before then, I was doing all sports, as I said, from playing the netball team at school to cross country, running, lots of different sports. So I loved all sports, and I've always been quite competitive. I was definitely competitive in sports and always wanted the teams to win, and the relays I used to love. And I always remember my dad trying to race me at everything. He'd be like, "I'd race you to the goalpost," or he'd race me in the swimming pool. So there was always kind of that competitive element that he maybe instilled in me from a young age, or it was, I don't know, whether I was just born with that kind of competitive side as well. But I've always loved the competition side of things and competing against and swimming, obviously the best in my age and the best in the UK.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that your dad kind of instilled that competitiveness just through like gamifying everything in the pool. That's leave it to dads to do that, right? To make you ultra competitive. So when you were 16, it really got serious for you. I'd love if you could just walk me through what the journey was like to be competing in the Olympics, because from an American perspective, the natural transition for sports is you play club, you play in high school, and then you go on to play collegiately. But my understanding is it's different. For your journey was different than that. So can you just walk me through that?
Yeah, so I actually finished school when I was 16, and then we have the opportunity to either stay on for 2 years or to go to a college and still study. So I made the decision after the age of 16 to move to a national training centre in Wales, in Swansea. And it was quite a difficult decision because it was making the decision to move away from home at still quite a young age, 16. I obviously
Yeah,
couldn't drive. I still very much needed my parents in so many ways. But it was kind of like I got to that crossroads where it was like I either move to Swansea and have more training hours, a distance specific coach to work with who's actually American, and train with all these incredible other GB athletes. And I either had that choice or I decided to potentially stay at home in a smaller swimming program that we couldn't get as many hours in training in the pool because of pool times and availability. So it was like, I'm at this crossroads. Do I go for it and see what happens and give myself the best opportunity, or do I stick with what I'm doing currently? So I decided to make that decision because I thought I've only got one chance in
yeah.
sport, in swimming. So I've got to see what I can do and what I can achieve. So I moved to Swansea, as I said, at 16, which was quite tough. I was learning to cook, clean, look after myself. Um, Quickly then, once I'd got to 17, learned how to drive. I then studied there as well. So I was managing lots of things at a young age. But when I look back, I think that was probably one of the best things for me because it exposed me to so many new areas. I had to grow up quite quickly, had to understand how to look after my body, and watching all these elite athletes compete and train. It was like, I want to be like them and I really want to see what they're doing and how I can get better. So it then took me 2 years to then make my first senior GB team. But from then, that was where it kind of took off really. And I thought, oh, maybe the Olympics is something that I can achieve and I can go to.
That is incredible. You moving away at 16 to go after this amazing goal. I mean, I know I wouldn't have been ready to do that. Like I think back at 16 and that would have been so out of my element. And is that transition, you mentioned it was challenging. It forced you to grow up. Is that really the moment that you stepped into identifying as an elite athlete? Or I guess when did you start to think about yourself in that light?
Yeah, I think probably when I made my first GB senior team was where I
Yeah.
thought I was actually the rookie on the team. I was the youngest on the team, and I was competing in a relay team, so a 4x200 meter relay with Rebecca Adlington, who was Olympic champion, Jo Jackson, she was an Olympic medalist, and Caitlin McClatchy, she was a world championship medalist and Commonwealth champion. And there was me, my first ever GB senior team, on a relay with three superstars, already established swimmers. And I remember being like full of nerves and thinking, oh my God, like I can't let these girls down. Like they are the best of the best in the UK. They've competed, obviously Becky winning 2 golds at the Olympics 2 years, a year previous, sorry. So I thought I just can't let these girls down. And I think that was probably the moment where it was like, this is your moment to really show what you can do. And we came away with a bronze medal there at my first World Championships, and we got the European record, which actually still stands today, however many years later, nearly 16 years later. So it's crazy, really, that a moment like that and exposing me to the World Championships and being there, it gave me that hunger of, I want to go and do that again. I want to be on the podium. I want to be compete against the best swimmers in the world. And that was kind of like that moment to me that really was the driving force of, I just want to do that again and again. I'm chasing that feeling. I'd love to be The adrenaline, the nerves, the excitement, the pressure, the crowd. It was in Italy and they love swimming and they go nuts. So it was just like an incredible feeling that I was like, I just want to do that again and again.
Yeah, that addicting adrenaline. Oh my gosh. I think it's cool that you said when you were competing with all those elite teammates of yours, that you didn't want to let them down. I always tried to take that mentality with me in sports, like being maybe not the best one on the team. You have to work super hard and prove yourself. And I just think that pushes you even further. Like if you're not the top dog, it's going to push you harder. It's going to make you better over time. Um, do you feel like you kind of took that mentality or have taken that mentality with you into your journey beyond swimming? Like, hey, I don't want to be the best in the room because I want to learn from others. Like, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely. I think um, I was really lucky in sport and in swimming that I was around so many incredible athletes. And as I said, tried to learn as much as I could from them. And also, like when I was competing in my events, you know, as I said, I already had um, Olympic champions, Olympic medalists, world championship medalists in my events that I was competing against. So
Yeah.
they already set the bar so high that I was always like, no, I need to get up there. And it was that drive and determination to compete against them. And so I guess um, having that, I think being able to learn and be around people and, you know, I actually wish I'd asked more questions and like been more inquisitive at a young age, because I think I was probably quite shy and nervous. And, you know, I really wish that I'd asked more questions and understood more about nutrition and strength training and all of the other bits that I didn't necessarily understand maybe at a young age. But even now, you know, from managing the team, the sales team here at Sourcewell, and being able to support the team and trying to get the best out of them, you know, my goal is to get every single person on my team to hit their targets, to hit their numbers, and to be able to strive to improve, find those marginal gains and ways that they can be better and they can improve. And so I think it's so similar with sport. A lot of the skills I used in sport, I'm still using today, but just in a different environment and in obviously and eventually obviously in the business side of things. So yeah, I think there's so many crossovers and I definitely use them today. And I always try and learn, ask as many questions and expose myself to different areas to try and understand and grow and develop. That's how you can get better.
Yeah, I want to dive more into your Sourcewell stuff in just a second, but I think you hit on something that really resonated for me when you said, I wish I would have asked more questions. And I wish I would have, been more inquisitive about how I could up level my nutrition. And I feel the same way looking back on my career or past jobs I've even had. Like, I wish I would have the knowledge then that I have now. And I think it's so easy to like put ourselves in that position, but it sounds like everything that you're like, oh, I wish I would have asked these questions. You have that wisdom now and you're bringing that to your current team. So
Yeah.
that really resonated with me.
Yeah, I think I wasn't always the most confident athlete, and I used to question myself a lot and all of those things. But, you know, it's only when you look back and you think, oh, you know, being able to ask more questions, like I wish I had more confidence. I wish I actually believed in myself a lot more. Because if I could go back now, I'd be like, of course, have confidence. Use some of the things I look back in training and the things I did in sport in training. Like, I wish I'd been like, no, this means I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I've done all the work. And that's one thing I try and like instill a lot in the team that I work with, is being able to, if you put in the work, stay consistent and do the small things well every single day, then the results will come. Like sometimes, especially now, like within sales, like you can focus so much on a number, trying to get to a target and achieve this. Whereas if you actually stick to the process and those small bits, they all add up, and that's when you're going to get the outcome that you obviously want to. And it's very similar with sport. So yeah, it's always funny looking back in hindsight and thinking, oh, I wish I've done this. But I guess so many learnings now that I do take with me.
100%. There's so many parallels and I want to dive into that. But before we get there, I want to just kind of tie up your swimming experience and talk about what that maybe transition sport was like, because we deal with a lot of candidates who are leaving sport or service for the first time. It's a huge identity shift. So before we dive into that though, I want to hear just about your Olympic achievements. This is like the dream for every athlete. You won silver medals in the 400 meter and 800 meter freestyle. at the Rio Olympics. Walk us through that experience and what was your mindset like leading up to those races?
Yeah, so the Olympics was everything that I'd obviously hoped, dreamed of as a young child. I was just like, I want to be an Olympian. I want to go to the Olympics. There's a video of me, and I share it often with young kids. And I think I was about 10 years old, and I said, I want to be an Olympic swimmer. Someone asked me what I wanted to be when I was older, and I said, I want to be an Olympic swimmer. I actually had no idea I'd actually said that until I saw the video when my mum and dad started looking through old videos during COVID times, actually. And I'd obviously watched the Olympics and been inspired by watching the incredible athletes there. But to go to the Olympics was just a dream come true. And I obviously had goals and things that I wanted to achieve there. But when I look back at the Olympics and the moment, someone asked me the other day, you must have been so nervous, like at the Olympics, like, how did you deal with that? And yeah, I was absolutely nervous. I was, anxious on how I was going to race, but deep down, it was the most confident I've ever been at any competition. It was at the Olympics. I felt like I was ready. I'd done absolutely everything I could to be there. And I could actually just enjoy the moment of racing against the best athletes in the world. So when I look back, it's funny because people might think, oh, competing on the biggest stage in the world, is that actually going to make you more nervous? But as I said, it was probably just the feeling of, I'm content. I've done everything to be here. I've done absolutely anything that I can, and I'm going to go out there and put on my best race. And to come away with 2 silvers behind Katie Ledecky, the greatest distance swimmer of all time, it was just a dream come true. And yeah, I was super happy with the whole experience. It was just incredible to go there and obviously compete for your country as well.
That's so cool, Jazz. I've always heard the phrase in those moments of like a lot of excitement and energy and nerves. It's like, rely on your training. Like you earned your spot here. Rely on your training and just be in the present moment. Don't think about it. And it's just like you embodied that so wonderfully. That's just what I was thinking of when you were sharing that story.
Yeah, it's funny because as I said, it was confidence is probably the biggest thing for me, to be able to stand on the blocks and actually have the full confidence that I can go out there. And I used to sometimes swim my races with not as much confidence, whereas I didn't used to go out and from the start of the race, if that makes sense. I used to kind of build into it, and I think it was a confidence thing. Whereas the Olympics, I just went out there and I was out from the start, getting stuck into the race. And actually I did something before. I actually made some notes of all the training sessions that I'd done beforehand in a little notebook, all the things I'd done really well in the lead up. My sports psychologist had made some notes in there that we'd worked through. And so right before my race, I was actually reading through all the notes of the months, years of hard work and bits that I'd done in training, and all the amazing things on why I should be the most confident I've ever been, why I'm ready, and why I was ready to race against the best in the world and put on my best performance. So definitely just reminding myself in that moment was just something small, but reminding myself of all those hard days, where it's not easy getting up early in the morning, 75 kilometers a week in the pool, it's a big commitment, but I'd committed myself to put on my best show and to win an Olympic medal, and then obviously to do that week and come away with two silvers. As I said, it was just like the dream come true, and all the hard work definitely paid off.
That is so cool, Jazz. You literally reminded yourself and gave yourself evidence of like why you belong, like why you're there. That is so cool. Do you still do that in your current jobs or like current life?
I don't as much as I should, but you probably just actually inspired me that maybe I should be doing things like that, of things that I've done well. I'm not always the best. I think I often look for feedback a lot to be able to, did that work well? How'd you find that? And I'm constantly looking for feedback. I think as ex-athlete in particular, we're always striving for those smallest things. How can I do this better? And I'm always looking for feedback, but maybe I should start doing that. It's a good idea.
You've inspired me to start doing that too. I'm like, that is such a good idea. So I wrote that down. I'm gonna have a journal and start doing that myself. Oh, so I want to get into your career, your current career, but I want to talk about your transition out as well. So you decided you were going to retire from competitive swimming in 2019. I just want to know what this journey was like for you. How did you navigate the transition away from professional sports?
It's a really tough tough one, you know. I speak to a lot of athletes as well, and you know that transition out of sport, it's tough, and you almost have to mourn your life and a career and what was a hobby and a sport that has been such a huge part of your life, because you can't do it forever. That's one of the things of sport. You can't do it until you retire at 60 or 65 or whatever that may be. It's only so short lived. And when I decided to retire, I think I did kind of feel quite mentally exhausted, and I felt like my body was almost telling me it's done. I had pneumonia that season, and I had lots of different niggles and injuries, and I just felt like mentally and physically, I was like, it felt like the right time. So I was quite lucky that it was my decision of like, look, I think now's the time. I've done everything I wanted to in sport. I've achieved a medal at every single international competition. I feel like it's now time. So I guess that kind of helps that the decision was in my hands, and it wasn't because of an injury that's maybe stop or funding or whatever that may be. It was my decision, but I think it's still tricky. You go from an environment where people are asking you every single day, how are you doing? How does your body feel? How did you sleep last night? You know, how stressed are you feeling? Is there anything that you need any support with? You're constantly asked of like, how are you doing? And you go from that environment every single day to then stepping away and no one's messaging you like, how are you doing? Or how's things going? Or, you know, do you need any help? Can we support you in any way? And you do feel like completely detached from your training group and, you know, from a coach that I used to work with 5-6 hours a day. I wasn't seeing him all the time. He was amazing. And like we would meet up for coffee and things like that. But ultimately, like his priority and his job is based off the athletes that are competing, and his job is to bring in medals, and I was no longer a part of that, and it's tough, and I felt a bit lost. I felt a bit like, what do I want out of life? What do I do now? I was quite lucky that a few different opportunities came my way, from events to talks to various different bits, because of the Olympics and because of my success through sport. But I know that doesn't always happen. You know, if you walk away and you come fourth or fifth at the Olympics and you've had your best ever race, you don't necessarily get given all the opportunities that some people do get. So I was very fortunate in a lot of ways, but I had no idea what I wanted. I hadn't planned for life after sport. I wasn't one of those athletes that have thought, that's exactly what I want to do after sport. That is what I want. That is what I want to go into. I didn't have a clear career pathway. So as time went on, and I set up my own swim kind of coaching business, where I started running swim camps and clinics and various different bits. But I knew that I didn't want to be a full-time coach right now. It didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to do. Mainly the early mornings in particular. I didn't want to go to do early mornings all the time, but also I felt like I wanted a bit of a break from sport. So I started doing like camps and bits, and I loved it, and I've loved being able to do one-to-ones and do lots of different bits. But I guess part of me really missed, in sport, you're always training for the next competition, and it's like, I've got the World Championships next year, so I need to prepare my season, work with my coach, and make sure that I'm striving to be at my best then. And once you get to World Champs, it's like, then the next year there might be a Europeans or a Commonwealth Games or an Olympics. You're always on that kind of cycle of going to train and compete for something. And I was like, I feel like I need an Olympics, but in my career, in the business world. And what is that? So it was only when I was actually working and speaking with a mentor, and they said to me, I think, like, obviously after understanding a bit about me, my personality, and he said, why don't you look at tech and sales? And he said, I've spoken with a lot of athletes and exceptions as well, and the personalities and their drive and determination is really well suited to tech sales. You know, there's targets, there's numbers, you've got to try and hit the number. You can get rewarded for your hard work. There's an environment where there's going to be pressure, you know, and you've got to be able to perform. But it's very similar to sport. You get out what you put into it. So I applied for lots of different roles and within tech, and I didn't really know where to begin. I didn't really know where to start. But I applied for a few that were entry level roles, like sales development, business development roles that were kind of entry level roles, but people would say, no, no experience. I wouldn't even get an interview because they said, you've got no relevant experience. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to get experience when I've been training my whole life for sports, competing against the best athletes in the world? And it's impossible. I was 28 years old and, I don't have the relevant experience to go into tech sales. But what I do have is a skill set that allows me to jump into that career, and I would give 100% and I would learn. So as I said, there was a lot of knockbacks. A lot of times I was questioning, I had no idea if this is going to come to anything. I was lucky enough to get one interview at a company, and as soon as I came in the interview, and I'd talked a bit about my experience and what I was looking for and what I wanted to do and learn and grow and develop. And within 30 minutes, the CRO at the time gave me a call and he said, I've just watched your interview back, and he said, I want to speak to you tomorrow. Can you get in some time? And that was the start of it, really, just from like someone giving me a chance of an opportunity of an interview. And then they offered me a role then, as I was managing lots of different sales development teams from different roles, different sectors. And it was great because they said, look, we're going to do 12 weeks full training. We're going to train you into it. Don't worry, you don't have to be an expert now. We will train you into it and make sure that you're ready. So I got all the training that I needed. I learned, asked as many questions, got time in with all the team, got a bit of an understanding of that business, how it works, how to train people in sales. And then started working and training and coaching and working with SDRs to see if I could help them hit their targets at their own companies. And it was great. I was exposed to lots of different sectors and I learned a lot quickly, but it quickly became, oh no, targets and being able to achieve this, and there's commission and lots of different things. In time, that role I ended up stepping away from the role, as there was just, I guess, in a fallout, and the company ended up going under after I left. But I think that first experience I was very lucky to have, and I actually always look back and think I was grateful because it gave me all the training, it's exposed me to lots of different areas within sales and tech, and gave me that opportunity as a foot in the door. From there, I was actually quite lucky because then as soon as I had that experience, people wanted to talk to me.
Yep.
So as soon as you've got experience on your CV, people are like, okay, no, give an interview. And so I had quite a few interests actually after I started looking for roles then, and that's where I ended up joining Sourcewell. But as I said, like if it wasn't for that one opportunity and someone taking a risk or a chance on me, then I probably wouldn't be sat here and working in tech and sales now, because they definitely gave me that chance and saw something in me that a lot of people were like, no, you don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, your experience, Jazz, is so unfortunately common for athletes. We spend our whole life training and dedicating our time to excellence in a sport. And then when it ends, unfortunately, some employers don't see how the experience translates, but it 1000% does. So it's like just the hardest part is just getting your foot in the door and getting someone to take a chance on you. And then once you have that, it's like sky's the limit. Then you can do anything because you prove yourself once you get into the role. But man, it's hard to get your foot in the door. Do you feel like having that mentor to help you with the transition did help you kind of ride the waves of transitioning into a new career or landing that first role?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having that support and someone to just give a bit of direction, because when I retired, I think unless you really know the pathway that you want to go down, and they might have some people that they might be able to put you in touch with, but a lot of people don't really have that clear pathway of where they want to go. So having just someone to be able to bounce ideas off, listen to your skill set, understand you as a person and what you want to get out of your next steps and your next role, was just, yeah, it was so useful for me, and just having a bit of guidance, someone to bounce ideas off and to point me in that direction. And yeah, obviously I definitely wouldn't be within the tech sales and tech space if they hadn't have recommended it. So yeah, it definitely made a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your current role at Sourcewell, I already mentioned you were named top 50 SDR leader. That's amazing. And you've been tasked with building sales teams and processes. So I just want to hear a little bit about that. What key, factors contribute to building your success building teams, or what contributed, to your being named top 50 SDR leader?
Yeah, I think for me, I love working with people, and I love bringing out the best in people and being able to support them. I really love that coaching aspect. And, uh, I don't get a better feeling than seeing someone that's maybe not performed as well as they'd hoped, and then being able to give them the support, coaching, confidence to get them up with to be a top performer. And I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of that. And I think, there's different sides to every coin. I think in tech sales, either going into more leadership or going into more of an individual performer where you're only responsible for your targets and your numbers. I've obviously gone into more of a leadership role and managing a team. And it's tricky at times. It's challenging, managing a team and people. And I think a lot of it comes down to hiring the right people, making sure you bring in the people that are going to come in, that are going to go out and work their absolute hardest to be able to perform for you and be coachable, to be able to communicate when they need something, to be able to ask a lot of questions and get the ground running. And that's probably the hardest part, I think, is making sure that you find the right people. Because, I think hiring can be costly if it's not the right people. And it's tricky sometimes to be able to find out I get 30 minutes normally in a first stage interview, with me, and then we go on to some of the other team. But to be able to find out about someone in 30 minutes and whether they could fit into the team and be a part of that is sometimes difficult. But yeah, as I said, like being able to work with the team, plan, their structure their week, make sure they've got enough coaching in there, but also, it's being able to communicate. I say to them all the time, if I need something from you or if I notice something, I need to be able to say to you, look, we need to do more of this. I'm looking at the numbers, we need to do more of this. And I also want them to come to me if I need to do more, if they need more coaching, if they want me to review some emails, calling, LinkedIn, or whatever that may be, or do some role plays together. We've got to have that relationship where you need something from me, and if I need something from you, and we make it happen. So we've just come off the back of like 2 of our best ever quarters back to back. So I think the only thing that's tough is it's the same in sport. We're always looking on how we can be better, how we can improve and keep into that same level and standard that we want to be. So it's just keeping consistent and sticking to the process and working together with a great team to try and keep the momentum going.
Yeah. You mentioned it's sometimes tough to know who, or fully get to know somebody maybe in those 30 minutes. What are some of those green flags or qualities that you're looking for in the interview process?
Yeah, it's something I was thinking about recently, actually. And one of my best interviews, she actually didn't come in, it was a couple of years ago, and she didn't actually come in with any sales experience. But what she did come in with is like so much energy, a passion for learning, a passion for growing, developing. And she showed me how like she used her skills. She actually played hockey, so maybe that was also a part. She played sport, so she was able to talk to me about sport and the things that she's learned in sport and how she uses that in her business life as well. And one of the questions that she actually asked me at the end of the interview was around, are there any reading materials or podcasts that you feel like have helped you with your career, that you feel like could help someone develop in their sales career? And just a question, something like that, I'd never been asked that before in an interview. I think sometimes you can see a lot on LinkedIn or people say, ask this question or ask that question. Like, I know they've read that off LinkedIn to ask that question.
Yeah.
But she just had this energy and enthusiasm for learning, for developing, for progressing her career. And like she's smashing it now. She's been promoted various times since she's joined. She's no longer in my team actually, which is sad. But she's gone on to do incredible things. And I think you just kind of you want to come off of an interview and be like, I want them as part of my team. I think they can come in and add something to my team, but also they're going to support and collaborate and work together and help the team grow as well. It's important, as I said, bringing in the right people because, it's great having people that perform well, but if their behaviours aren't good enough,
Right.
then it can just bring down a team, the rest of the team. So you want someone that's going to add something, bring something to the team, and make them and lift them even higher.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned energy because I feel like by far that is one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get from companies is that, the candidate had an impressive background, but they were a little flat. And we have to tell candidates like you need to bring your energy and also concisely explain why the company should care about your sports experience. Like it's not enough to say I was a Division 1 athlete. You have to explain why those skills are transferable while also conveying that you were excited about the role and opportunity.
Yeah, and I think I often see it in interviews as well, where people don't necessarily show their personality or feel like they've almost got to be like a certain way or a robot on an interview. And look, I think you've got to be professional and turn up on time early, really. You want to be there early to make sure you're showing that you're there with intent and you want to be there. But I think aside from that is show your personality and show your energy, enthusiasm, what you're passionate about, what makes you you, because there's nothing worse than hopping onto an interview and feel like, you're reading from a textbook or you've just like rehearsing some of those lines that you've tried to get in about the company. Really
Yeah.
shows me why you want to work for my team, join my team, what you can add, what you can bring, and what experiences you've had that have shaped your career so far and how they feel like they're going to help you further. So I think there's like so many different ways, but as I said, being authentically yourself as well, it shows because if you turn up to an interview and you're not yourself, you can't really have that same energy and passion and enthusiasm
Yeah.
when you're not necessarily being yourself. So that's one big bit of advice I would say is just be yourself, show your energy, enthusiasm, and share your moments and experiences that have really shaped you because that's the moments as hiring managers that we remember the most.
Yeah. Yes. On that vein of authenticity too, in a previous conversation, you and I had talked about how tech in particular, but sales in general really is a male dominated space. And sometimes women can see themselves as one of the only, whether it's the only in the interview process or on their team when they land the role. I would love to know your perspective on this split, the 70-30 split that we talk about in the tech space and really what opportunities and advantages do women have in these spaces? Because I look at it as an opportunity for us to really be trailblazers and help each other out along the way. So I just want to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, I'm a huge advocate for getting more women involved in tech, in sales, um, in those environments. And I think traditionally it has been quite a male dominant environment. And I don't necessarily think women always feel like it's a career path that would be for them. It's just not as seen as appealing, or they don't know and understand the kind of sector or what's required. But as I said, I'm really passionate about getting more females in tech. Um, some of the best people I've worked with have been, female, and it could just happen to be that, but they make amazing salespeople. And yeah, I think for me, I'd love to see more people get involved in tech, in sales, and it's an incredible career opportunity. I've been to interviews, and I remember they actually introduced me to the team, and I walked in, and the whole like sales floor was male, and I was like, look, I'm fine with that, but like it's nice to have other females on the team, being
Yeah,
able to talk about things
it's
and
just a little different for sure.
yeah, and having that kind of female support as well and representation is super important. And I'm really aware of that as a hiring manager as well. Sadly, I don't get as many females apply for the roles that we have as well, which I would love to see more. So, I think if you are thinking about a career in sales and tech, or business development, like there is so many opportunities, and it doesn't necessarily have to shape your career a certain way. It can go so many different ways. So have the confidence, and you might not always be the loudest in the room, but what you can do, you've got so many skills that you can use in so many different ways. And yeah, I hope we do start to see more females in tech.
I hope so too. And why do you think it is that you don't see as many female applicants?
It's tricky to know. As I said, it might be down to people not necessarily understanding or knowing, or maybe even seeing as like, oh, I don't think that's something that I would do. But I would, I'm not 100% sure why we just have a smaller pool of candidates that come in that are female. But I would love to see more, and I think being able to talk about it more, get them to understand what sales career could look like, or being able to expose them to certain career opportunities can definitely show that we would love to have more females in the team. And the team that I have, I'm very lucky to work around, and they're absolutely smash it. And yeah, it's a tricky one to be able to put your finger on it, but hopefully we start to see it grow and grow.
I love that. Well, you can definitely say you're doing a lot for visibility and generating some awareness around the opportunity in sales roles for women. So I absolutely love it. Jazz, I know we're way over time right now, but I love the conversation has been great. Do you have a little bit more time, or you got to get going here?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm
Awesome. I just want to make sure that I'm not like, you're like, I got to get off this call. I got to get to my next thing. Okay, awesome. So I do have a couple more questions then that I want to ask you. Transitioning a little bit into some of the mentorship work that you do yourself. You have an initiative and a program called Swim with Jazz. I just want to hear a little bit of more about that, and I guess what you are aiming to achieve with Swim with Jazz.
Yeah, so I think that still gives me the opportunity to be able to coach and give back to swimming and sport. And I run swimming camps 4 times a year, and still do one-to-ones and mentoring with actually mainly girls, all girls. It's been all girls that I've actually worked with from a mentoring perspective. And I think the biggest thing is I've been through the journey, and I know how tough it can be. I know about all the different things that happen, especially with young females, the body changes and all the things that I've gone through, that every girl goes through. So being able to support the next generation of athletes coming through is just, I feel very privileged to be able to be in that position to share my experiences and run swim camps. And they're always busy, and they've always got 1,000 different questions, and it's great. But I love being able to still be involved in swimming in some way and give back to the sport. It's obviously always been such a huge part of my life.
Yeah, Jazz, I love that. I mean, I think back to my adolescent career, and I had a coach that was monumental in my development, not only as an athlete, but as a young woman. I mean, she really put faith in me that I could not only be a great athlete, but a good person. And I think that having that mentorship is so, so important at that age, to have someone outside of your parents giving you guidance and someone that you can look to. So I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing work that you're doing. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more positive mentors for young athletes, positive coaches who are giving back to them and not just making it about, the wins and the losses, but about their development as people. So I love it. I absolutely love it. I could go on forever about it.
Love that.
Oh, so when you were transitioning out of competition, did staying involved with swimming and having this, you mentioned you like being involved, so swimming, it's helped you stay close to the sport. Did you really feel like this helped you manage that identity shift? Do you still view yourself as that elite athlete in retirement, or has your identity shifted a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny because I think I get asked it a lot of still swimming questions and sport questions and different things, and it does feel like a lifetime ago in some ways. But on the other hand, it's just still very close to my heart, and in so many ways. And I still have so many skills that I've used in sport, but I guess I still use now. So it feels like it's kind of transitioned. And I think I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me that watched some of the swimming competitions and be like, oh, I wish I was standing on the blocks and experiencing those highs and in the pool racing and all of those things. But I think that will always be there. the competitor in me will always be there, and I can, I guess, watch and think proud of the journey that I've had and all the moments that have shaped me and my career, but also happy with where I'm at now, and wanting to see my career progress from a business perspective as well. So yeah, it's great to be able to look back on and still be involved and still give back to the sport, I think. But yeah, it does feel like a lifetime ago in some ways as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally feel that. And speaking of identity shifts, you are now a mom. So I'd love if we could touch a little bit on that. How has becoming a mom influenced your perspective on identity, on work, on life balance, all the things?
Oh my. I think becoming a mum has like changed me in so many ways. It's softened me in so many ways. Um, but I think I still got that athlete mindset, and I do still think as a mum, I'm like, how could I have done that better? Like almost like trying to be the best mum I can be. And I'm like, look, just by showing up, giving him as much love as you can and doing your best, that's all you can ask. You can't have an impeccably tidy house all the time, be an amazing mum, further your career, still be involved in sport. It's so hard to do it all. And I think you've got to have next level organization and be able to manage so many different plates. But I almost thrive in the busyness of life. I think that's what keeps me going, keeps me busy. I still like to keep fit and train and go to the gym and look after myself, because when I'm looking after myself, I'm the best mum and the best leader that I can be in work. And I think it transfers across my whole life. So, I hold my hands up and say it's tricky at times, and it does challenge me, and we're learning. And it's my first time being a mum. I've never done it before. It's
Yeah.
a new experience, but it's been the best experience as well. And having a little mini me and like my little boy, he's just great. We have so many amazing moments together, and I want to give him the happy moments, and he loves balls. He's just obsessed with any shape of ball. So he's constantly chasing them around everywhere, any good park, field, whatever that may be. But we have so much fun, and that's what it's about.
I love that, Jazz. And I've talked to some moms on this show. I've talked to mothers who are candidates coming through the shift group process. And I would just love to know what you would maybe say to them as they're stepping into a career transition. Some of them are stepping into the sales world for the first time. Some of them took a career break after having their children and are now maybe feeling some nerves about getting back into things. And I do hear them say, like, you're competitive in the mom life. Like, how could I have been a better mom today? And it's so hard to sometimes escape the mom guilt for them. And
Yeah,
I can't speak from experience, but I've heard this from candidates, and I just would love to know what you would say to them.
yeah. It's a tricky, because I think the mum guilt will always be there, and it's tricky to manage sometimes. But I try and look at it as ways, I'm doing my absolute best as a mum and showing up every day. And like, I laugh sometimes. So I think being a mum is like your superpower of like, we get to the start of the workday, whether that's at 8:30 or 9 a.m., whenever I log on to my laptop. And I haven't just rolled out of bed and had a coffee. Like, I've been up early, like running around the house. We've been playing with trains. We've had cars zooming around the house. We've taken Max off, and like it's like all before work. And then work is like my way to engage my brain, to switch on and to strive for like targets, numbers, hitting all my targets. And then at the end of the day, I get to be mum again, and I get to have an amazing boy and all of the love, cuddles, and amazing moments with him. So I think there can often be times where it feels like we've got to pick one or the other. And but I think being able to put you first as well sometimes, in terms of, I know I'm the best mum when I can exercise, when I can work really well, and when I'm doing lots of things. And that's, it's okay to want to have a career as well. And it will be busy, life will be busy, but you will be great. And you've got a drive and determination like no other, having a little one by your side and being able to do it to them as well.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing that, Jazz. I know we are short on time here, so I do want to ask one final question for you to wrap the show. since changing the game was originally started to encourage more women to consider a career in sales, but really I'd love if you could just speak to everyone here. If you could give one piece of advice to someone out there who's considering a career in sales, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's actually a great question. I think, you know, you never know what opportunities come until you try and put yourself out there. I think just being open to learn and develop, and if you can fall in love with the process of learning, developing, improving, getting better, and finding those marginal gains, like you can do some amazing things if you put your mind to it. And look, you don't need to do the fanciest things. It's the same with sport. People would focus on doing this for recovery and getting a nice back and all of these fancy things. If you do the basics right really well, then you can get some amazing results, and focus on the process of doing those consistently every single day. You can get amazing results. And like from a sales career perspective, there are so many opportunities in sales, and I think you never know what opportunities are out there until you actually learn about them, find out about them. But it's a great place, and you learn, develop, grow, and chasing targets is so exciting and in a great environment. So I would encourage anyone to find out more anyway, definitely, and give it a go, because you never know what you can achieve until you give it a go.
I love it. Thanks so much, Jazz. I really appreciate your time. This was so awesome. I know we talked for a while. I feel like I could keep talking and asking you questions into the day. But where can our listeners find you? Should they connect with you on LinkedIn or Instagram? What's your go-to?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is just Jazz Carlin, and I'm on other social medias from Instagram, TikTok, all different platforms anyway. But I guess from like, if you've got any questions around like kind of sales, anything really, anything, LinkedIn's probably your best bet. It seems to be where I spend most of my days anyway. So on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jazz. Appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.